Welcome to this week's yoga class. This week we're going to play a little bit with some balance poses, looking specifically at how to better use our eyes. In yoga we call this a Drishti, a focal point, and how by bringing the eyes to one point at attention it steadies the mind and also improves our ability to balance. There are other benefits as well. There's some work looking into different types of issues like ADD and ADHD and looking at how controlling micro movements, circadian movements in the eyes can affect those conditions. So in yoga this is all falls under the category of Trataka. I have a complete workshop on Trataka, 30-minute workshop that's available on my website. But we're just going to use one aspect of that. So one of the things that I noticed, I really enjoy looking at optical illusions, and I've been exploring those for about 25-30 years. And there's a couple of them that work very, very well as a meditation target. So here is an example of one. And if you zoom in and take a closer look at this, and take just a few minutes before we start our practice to look at this image closely. So if you're far away from your monitor, come up close where you can sit comfortably and stare at it for a minute. Now, if you allow your eye to wander around the page, you'll notice that the circles start to spin. But if you can bring your eyes to absolute stillness, pick one spot in the image, and then look at that one spot without letting the eye wander, and you'll notice that the entire image stops moving. Those of you that think this might be a video of a moving image, just pause the video for 10 seconds, try it again, and then restart the video so you can see that the movement isn't created by the video, it's created by your brain. Now, for this class you don't need to do this, but at some point if you have a moment, you can go online and just Google spinning wheel optical illusion, download an image, and then if you want to you can print it out, but if you print these out, color is critical, and shades of color make a big difference. So if you print out this, make sure you do a very high end, or you can send it to a print shop and have them print it for you, so that you get accurate color representation. And then you can use this both just for sitting meditation, or you can, if you want to, you can place this eye level, standing, and then we can use that as our Drishti for balancing poses. So we'll come back to that in just a moment. Now, bring your attention to your breath. Allow the eyes to close gently without squeezing or trapping tension. Soften the eyes, the space behind the eyes, the jaws, the lips, the tongue, the mouth. Release the bottom jaw, letting it hang slack jaw. And then very delicately begin to move your head, lazily, slowly. Allowing the head to float around into different positions without straining, without stretching. There's a range of free movement before fascia begins to resist. And just playing right at that edge. you feel that first hint of restriction, and rather than trying to push through it, just float over the surface. As you're doing that, keep coming back to the breath, stretch the exhale. Into a sigh. Relax the eyes, the tongue. See if you can almost hypnotize yourself. Imagine, allow, and feel your head becoming heavier and heavier. Take a breath or two. As you continue to move your head now, begin to play with the shoulders at the same time. When your head is leaning to the right, play with the left shoulder, adjusting it to make the quality of the sensations feel healthy and pleasant. Likewise, when the head is tilted to the left, the right shoulder comes into play. Bring the head back to center and then continue to play with the shoulders, moving them together or opposite. Feel how the shoulder blades move as you move the shoulders. And then see if you can initiate the movement from the shoulder blade. So it's the shoulder blade leading the shoulder around. And then taking that with you into a twist, leading with the right shoulder. Lift, find that shoulder blade and draw it into the spine, back and down, and lift the chest. Make sure the lifting of the chest is the dominant action. Shoulder blade back and down is secondary to that. That way we maintain our extension and we don't collapse as we're twisting. Cross the left hand over the opposite knee. Lift and rotate. If you want to bring this all the way into the eyes, very gently turn the eyes to the right, gazing behind you without straining. Breathe deeply, 2 or 3 breaths. And then switching sides. Leading with the left shoulder blade, lift, draw it around and down, lift the heart, open the chest, turn them. And then with your eyes gazing to the left and behind. 2 or 3 breaths. Coming back to center, and coming into cat-cow. Placing your hands shoulder width apart, knees hip width. Start each movement from the tailbone and let it flow up the length of the spine, lifting tailbone, opening chest, looking up on the inhale, tucking tailbone round, low back, mid back, upper back on the exhale. And then improvising, repositioning your hands, adding a little asymmetry. Focus on feeling your way without thinking. Create healthy, pleasant sensations. Move those sensations through the fascia, through the body. Occasionally changing up your hand positions. With each new position, explore the new sensations and movements that are available. And then finish with a couple of symmetrical cat-cows. Next, we'll be adding a leg lift. So from table position, float the right leg back and up.
And then experiment with bending the elbows, sinking your chest, lifting the leg a little higher, or rolling the hip up or down, playing with the shoulder blades. Make adjustments that increase the quality of the contraction in the muscles of the back. And then setting the knee down, round the back, exhale, come back to neutral. Float the left leg back and up, reach the chest forward. And again, experiment, bending the elbows, sinking the chest, straightening the arms, rolling the hips, organizing the contraction. And then a couple of cat-cows to release tension, restore symmetry. Then coming into an extended child's pose, walk your hands forward, sink your hips back, and release the back of the neck. Let your head sink, forehead resting on the floor. Breathing into this position with a complete back breath. Upper back, mid back, low back, belly, ribs, chest, and shoulders. Then coming back to table, and this time we'll add an arm lift. Left leg, right arm, and then curl into fetal and expand and lift the leg and the arm again. This is a diagonal movement. Left leg, right arm lifting and curling. Switching sides, right leg, left arm. Curling towards fetal on the exhale, expanding and lifting on the inhale. One more repetition. And then when you're ready, a cat-cow. And then spreading the knees a little wider, sinking the hips back, walking the hands forward, extending into child's pose. Again, bring your attention back to the breath. Breathing down the back into the belly and then up through the ribs and chest. Allowing the breath to be full, fluid, and slow. Coming back to table. And next we'll be working with plank as a held position. Take your right leg back and then lift the left knee, keep it under the hips, but just barely lift it off the ground. And then if you want to step back into full plank, you can. And if you get tired, just place the knee on the floor under the hips. Then pressing back into downward facing dog. Take a breath or two. Draw your chest through towards your feet. Reach your heels towards the floor. Lift the tailbone towards the ceiling and then play. Undulate, roll. Move side to side. Spiraling the arms. Reaching the heels down, lifting the arches, the shins, the kneecaps, the quadriceps up. And then walking your hands in towards your feet until you're in a standing forward bend. Take a few breaths here, stretching out the hamstrings. Bend one knee, then the other. Go side to side. And then when you're ready, roll up to a comfortable standing position. Working next with an overhead stretch and a little pandiculation. Float the arms out and then stretching as if you were just waking up, and add a little dynamic bounce, bouncing into a delicate resistance. Trying to maximize any pleasure from that. and then shake out. Bring your hands together over the heart in prayer position. Vinyasa Sun Salutation. Sweep up. Lift the pelvic floor, firm the abdomen, lift the chest, take the shoulders back. And then release into a partial forward bend, supporting weight with your hands on thighs. Come up and stretch on the inhale. Release into a partial forward bend on the exhale. As you limber up, you can release into a deeper forward bend. Don't rush it though. Allowing your body to warm up at its own speed. Each time you come into your forward bend, lean into just the right amount that it still feels healthy and pleasant, not feeling forced. Each time you roll up, remember to buckle the knees, not too soon. Wait for the wrists to pass the kneecaps. As you buckle, roll up like a rag doll. Each time you stretch overhead, bring a little warrior energy into that movement and add a side stretch. Lift the left heel, flare the right ribs. Lift the right heel, flare the left. Go side to side. Little bit of a back bend. Lift the heart, take the shoulders back, arch back just comfortably. Keeping good extension, and then supported forward bend, hands on the thighs, the back is fairly straight, the knees are slightly bent. Either stay there or release if it feels good to hang into a deeper stretch. And then roll back up to comfortable standing position. Next, we're working with a full 12-step sun salutation. We'll do 2 rounds. Coming up to the front of your mat, making sure you got lots of space behind you. Sweep up on an inhale. And then swan dive on the exhale. Reach the hips back, release. Place your fingers even with your big toe. Take the right leg back slowly and into a deep lunge. Sink the hips, lift the chest, open the heart. Hold your breath momentarily as you step back into plank. Press down on the exhale and then roll up into cobra. Lift the shoulders, roll the shoulder blades together, draw the shoulder blades down, reach the chest forward, press the tops of the feet into the floor. Take a breath, and then downward facing dog. Take a moment to play with the pose a little, and then begin to organize it, and then begin to work the pose. Take a breath or two. When you're ready to come up into your lunge, set the left knee on the floor, step the right foot all the way through, lunging. On the exhale, step the left foot forward, lean into your forward bend. Roll up, stretch overhead, firm the abdomen, lift the chest, sink the shoulder blades, breathe in, back to prayer. Second side, release the arms and then sweep overhead as you breathe in. Swan dive as you breathe out. Fingers even with the big toe. Left foot leading, stepping back into a deep lunge. Holding your breath in plank. Keep the elbows tucked in. Keep the hips a little higher than the chest as you come down. And then roll the shoulders back. Reach the chest forward. Press the feet down. Cobra. And then downward facing dog. reach the hips away, lift the tailbone. Take a breath or two. When you're ready, set the right knee on the floor, step the left foot up into a deep lunge. On the exhale, standing forward bend. Roll up, buckle the knees, stack the vertebrae, stretch overhead, finish breathing in. Back to prayer. Chair pose. Start gently. Float the arms overhead. Lift the pelvic floor. Firm the abdomen, Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha. Lift the chest forward and up. Take your inner armpits, shoulder blades back and down. There'll be a tendency for the belly to start moving forward, so pull the navel back, lift the chest, and then begin to bend the knees, reach the hips back, and coming into just a gentle chair pose. Focus not on actually making the pose look right, but engaging with just the right amount of effort, that it feels healthy. Then, if it feels good, begin to work deeper, reaching the hips down and back, and bringing the shoulders back behind the ears and working the pose a little more strongly. Breathing into this. 4 or 5 or 6 more breaths. Breathing deep and steady. Drawing the breath in, pressing the breath out. At any point, come up when you're ready, and if you're okay, hold for another breath or two. When you do come up, stretch overhead, float the arms out and down, and then a supported forward bend. The back fairly straight, the knees a little bent. And either stay there, or if you feel the muscles releasing and relaxing, work your way into a deeper stretch. Stretch your exhale into a sigh. And then, when you're ready, roll back up to standing. Triangle pose, stepping your feet apart, fairly wide, and then you turn your left foot out, right foot in, the hips move to your right, the pelvis tilts. Left hand can be on your thigh or shin, the right arm floats up towards the ceiling. And then steady, smooth, deliberate breath. If you feel the body beginning to relax and open and the fascia release a little bit, work your way further into the pose, walking your hand down towards your shin or the floor. Now, let your right hip roll forward and then roll the hip back again, opening back up into a flat pose. Take a breath or two. Again, looking for a steady, firm asana, and then switching sides. Coming up, turning the right foot out, left foot in, and then letting your hips kick to the left, lengthening the right side of the rib cage. The right hand on your thigh, shin, or floor. Try to keep the lower rib cage long. Breathing into the position. Working your way a little deeper if you feel the fascia releasing. Then roll the left hip forward, go a little deeper, and then roll the left hip back again, flattening back out. Take a few more breaths. Look for steadiness in your breathing and in your mind as well as in the body. And then coming up, turning your feet pigeon-toed, releasing into a forward bend. Sway a little left, little right, lean forward, lean back. Breathe deep. And then step the feet together. Roll back up, buckling the knees as you come upright. Next we'll work with some balance poses, coming to the wall. And if you printed out a poster and want to use that as your Drishti, fine. If not, just choose a mark, a point, something on the wall that will hold your gaze, and then focus with just as much intensity on that point as you did when we were working just with the optical illusion. Try to prevent the eyes from darting around. Then shift your weight to the left leg and lift the right heel. If that is steady, place the foot against the calf. If that is steady, bring the heel up to the groin. Focus on the quality of your gaze, keeping your gaze one-pointed. If you're using the optical illusion, notice when the wheels start to turn and stop them by bringing your eyes to a fixed position. If you feel a little wobbly, you can use one finger or two fingers to steady yourself. If you feel stable, use one finger or float the arms overhead again. Coming back to prayer, smoothly, slowly stepping out of the pose. And spread the toes on the right foot, shift your weight to the right, and then focus your mind and your eyes on your Drishti, on your focal point. And again, practice the intensity of the Drishti. Try to notice if the eyes jump, and practice bringing them to perfect stillness. The left foot can be placed against the ankle or brought up to the groin. Worry a little less about whether or not you lose your balance. Focus more on the quality of your gaze. Again, you can use one or two fingers to steady yourself if you are struggling. Take a breath or two. And then coming back to prayer. And then slowly releasing. Plant your hands about level with your head on the wall. Step your feet back a little bit and then bend the knees slightly, drop your chest through as if you're doing down dog. Spiral with the arms. Root through the knuckle of the index finger. Hollow the inner armpits, broaden the upper back, sink the chest, float the shoulder blades up, let the chest drop through. Feel your way around, away from discomfort. Any pinching or binding, undulate, adjust, reposition, and if it feels good, lean into that. And then stepping forward, coming back upright. And we'll repeat the balance with the focus on the Drishti, either repeating tree pose, or if you prefer, you can work with dancer or with eagle. Whichever variation you choose, let this be more about the quality of your focus, the eyes and the mind, finding stillness, and then releasing, coming back up, shifting to the opposite side, and then whichever variation, tree, dancer, or eagle, whichever one you prefer. Keep your focus on the Drishti. Take a breath or two, and then release. Plant your hands about level with your head. Step your feet back, sink your chest. And again, lifting the inner armpits, broadening the upper back. Root through the knuckle of the index fingers. Take a breath or two. And then stepping forward, coming back upright. So next we'll try balancing with the eyes closed. And you can place both hands touching the wall lightly, and then if you feel steady, just use one finger on each hand. If that becomes easy, just use one finger. If you start to get wobbly, use two fingers. Find the edge between being completely centered and that first hint of being a little wobbly. And just play right at that edge with the eyes closed. Working with the eyes closed helps you to increase kinesthetic awareness. Switching feet when you're ready. Shift your weight to the right, lift the left foot. Coming back to tree pose. And again, with the eyes closed, holding onto the wall with just enough action to steady yourself, and then using just a little less until you feel like you're challenging the vestibular system, so that you're having to pay more attention to the sensation of the pose to help maintain your balance. And then releasing. If you're using the poster, you can place that on your sticky mat at the front of your mat. We're working next with half moon. Standing in the middle or slightly behind the middle of your mat, step your left foot forward. Lunge. Shift your weight forward. Bring your left hand to the floor and then open with the hips and the shoulders. Now, if you're working with a poster and you want to try turning your head, put the poster on the wall, and you can put it low to start with, and then practice turning the head finding the poster and then steadying the mind and the eyes. If that becomes easy, you can practice putting the poster a little higher on the wall. That'll make it a little more challenging to find. And then once again, practice the rotation of your head. Find your target, your Drishti, whether it's a poster or just a mark. Anything that will hold your attention. Switching sides when you're ready. Step the right foot forward, bend the right knee, shift your weight forward, touch the floor with your fingers, float the back leg up, then roll the hip up. And as the left hip rolls up, then roll the left shoulder up, float the arm up. The weight is in your heel, not in the fingertips. Keep the breath smooth and steady. Two or three breaths. When you're ready, bring your feet back to the ground and come back up to Tadasana. And then a supported forward bend. Take a breath or two here. And then if everything feels okay, work your way a little deeper into your stretch. Take 2 or 3 more breaths. Next, coming down to the floor for back roll. Take a moment with a cat-cow, just to restore symmetry, releasing any tension, and then either using your back roll if you have one, and if not, taking a firm blanket, folding it long and thin, and then rolling it up as tightly as you can. The nice thing about a blanket is you can unroll it to make it easier, or roll it up larger to make it more challenging. You'll be positioning the roller in the upper back, just below the shoulder, centered in the center of the shoulder blades. Arms extended. Knees can be bent or straight, whatever you prefer. Take a moment here to play. Roll the legs one side to the other, arch the body a little bit to the left, to the right. Maybe even yawning. And then coming back to center. And then letting gravity do the work for you. Letting the head and shoulders sink towards the floor. Remember, if you hit a position where this is unpleasant, uncomfortable, or the body refuses to relax, unroll the blanket enough that you can. Every 5 or 10 breaths, reposition to shift. Lift your hips, push with your legs, and roll over the top of the roller 1 inch. Set the hips down again. 1 vertebra at a time, slowly working your way down the length of the spine. be at least halfway down the length of the spine by now. If not, you might want to speed up a little. Once the roller is low enough that you can grab it with your hands, then adjust the roller rather than sliding the body. To do that, you lift the hips, and then with your hands move the roller a little further down the spine, and then set the hips down again. One vertebra at a time, working your way down the length of the spine. If you finish early, go back to a favorite spot. Four or five more breaths. When you're finished, position the roller underneath the hips. So lift your hips up, reposition the roller, set your hips on top of the roller, and then press your kidneys down, curl your tailbone up, hollow the abdomen, and just notice how that feels. So your hips are about 6 inches off the ground, resting on the roller. You're pressing the low back towards the floor, curling the tailbone up, hollowing the abdomen. Then pull the roller out from under you, hold that position, and internalize the feeling of that. Then lower the kidneys to the floor and then the hips. Bridge. Now for bridge, the feet are going to be close to the hips and hip width apart. Arch the back slightly and then press the kidneys down, curl the tailbone up, hollow the abdomen, and then come up just 6 inches and then recreate the action you had when you were working with the roller under you, and then continue lifting further if you wish. You can interlace your fingers underneath your hips, or you can grab the ankles if you prefer. The hips lift up, the chest is pushing towards your chin. The back of the neck is long, breathing into that position. As you come back down, hold when your hips are 6 inches off the ground, then recreate the action we practiced on the roller. Lift the tailbone, hollow the abdomen, and then hug the knees into the chest when you're finished. Rock side to side. And then find the floor with one foot and then with the other. Take a moment to relax. We'll try that again here in just a moment. Hollow the abdomen, press the kidneys down, curl the tailbone up, and then begin your lift. Coming up just a few inches, or if you prefer, lifting up a little higher. You can support your pelvis with your hands or interlace the fingers behind your back. Breathe with a nice deep complete breath. Breathing through the back into the belly, ribs, chest, and shoulders. And then coming down, when your hips are 6 inches off the ground, hold. Curl the tailbone up, hollow the abdomen, and then from here, with your hips still 6 inches off the ground, grab your knee, pull the knee into your chest, then set the kidneys on the floor. Then hug both knees, rock side to side. That's a technique to make sure you have good extension and avoid compression in the back. Now, coming over onto your stomach for one last cobra. Position your hands well behind the shoulders, wrists under the elbows. Press the tops of your feet into the floor. Shrug the shoulders, lift the shoulders, draw the shoulder blades together and down the back, reach the chest forward, and then using your back muscles to lift. You can test by lifting your hands off the ground slightly and setting them back down just to make sure you're using your back muscles. When you are ready, transition to one more downward facing dog. Draw the chest through towards your feet, reach the sit bones away, point the tailbone up, reach the heels down, and breathe into that position. Take a few breaths. We'll be resting in crocodile. Crocodile, you'll come down onto your stomach. Use your arms to lift the rib cage. Walk the ribs forward and set them down as far away from the hips as possible. Spread your legs wide, and if you are comfortable this way, point your toes out, drop your heels in. And then position your elbows, so with your arms crossed, the elbows are in front of the shoulders slightly. Position your arms where your chest is lifted off the floor, but the lowest two ribs are firmly rooted in the ground. Then breathe diaphragmatically, or you can practice a complete back breath if you prefer. This position is used to increase awareness of breathing, among other things. So focus on the sensation of breathing in this position. And then breathe in such a way that the sensations of breathing are healthy and pleasant. Take a few more breaths. And then pushing back into downward facing dog. We won't hold for long, just a breath or two before we transition into pigeon pose. Bring the right knee through. Slide the left leg back. If this is a little bit challenging, walk the left leg to the left and forward. If it's too easy, slide the left leg back and to the right. We're looking for a healthy, pleasant stretching sensation in the right hip without any strain in the knee joint. You can explore shifting your hips a little to the left or to the right. Lengthen the exhale and use that longer exhalation to help calm the nervous system and to help the muscles relax more completely as you lean into a deeper stretch. Five or six more breaths on the first side. Take a breath or two, and then when you're ready, push back into downward facing dog. This will be our last down dog. Take a breath or two. When you decide you're ready, bring the left knee forward for pigeon pose on the second side. Control the intensity with the right leg, moving the leg to the right and forward to diminish, sliding it back, and to the left to intensify the stretch. Start gently, relax, and then gradually work your way deeper if it feels good. Again, deliberately slowing down the breath and stretching the exhale into a sigh. Take a breath or two to finish. Next, we'll be working with a spinal twist, rolling onto your back. Bring both knees to your chest, rock side to side. Roll to your left. And then either keep the left knee bent or straighten the left leg and roll the right knee over further, holding the leg down with the left hand, turning your upper body to the right. Any version of a spinal twist is fine. Then breathing deeply. Feel the right shoulder rise a little bit as you finish your inhale. And as you breathe out, let the right arm get heavier and heavier with each breath. Three or four more breaths on the first side. And then coming back to center. And then hug your knees, roll to the right, hold the knee down, twist to the left. Adjust until you find a comfortable twist. And then focus on breathing deeply. And as you finish a complete inhale, allow the left shoulder to lift a little. And as you breathe out, let the left arm get heavier and heavier with each exhale. Three or four more breaths on the second side. When you're finished, hug both knees, rock side to side. And then take a few moments to get comfortable. If you need any support under your legs or for your head or your neck, just take a moment to make those arrangements. When you're completely comfortable, take a moment to breathe. Breathing diaphragmatically, feel the belly rising as you breathe in, falling as you breathe out. With each breath, relaxing the face, the jaws, the lips, the tongue, the tip of the tongue, the belly and root of the tongue. The fingers, the hands, the arms, the shoulders. The feet, the ankles, the calves, the knees, the thighs. Loosening hips, relaxing the buttocks. The low back, the belly, the kidneys, the ribs, the chest, the shoulders. Back of the neck and soften the throat. Relaxing the jaws, the lips, the tongue, the mouth, and especially the eyes, the space behind, the eyeballs beneath the round between. Softening, the eyeballs melting into the back of your head. And the eyelids float lightly above the eyes. The eyebrows, the forehead. The temples grow soft and hollow. And relaxing the scalp and the crown. raise the arms overhead and pendiculating, yawning, stretching. And then when you're ready, bring your knees to your chest and roll to one side. Take a breath or two as you lay on your shoulder, and then when you're ready, press up to a comfortable seated position.
Going to sit for just a few minutes in closing, and we're going to come back to the optical illusion. So if you would like to use that, then sit where you can see a monitor clearly, and it's best if you are fairly close to it, maybe half an arm's length. So if your elbow's bent 90 degrees, that's a good distance to observe it from, or a little bit further away. If you're further than that, it loses some of its effectiveness. So take a moment, and then zooming in on this diagram. Once again, experiment. Let your eye roam. Notice how the pattern starts moving as the eye moves. One of the purposes of this exercise is to bring your awareness to these cicada movements that normally we don't even notice, and if you don't notice them, then it becomes very difficult to control them. It's not that they're bad. They're useful for gathering information. However, they speed up the brain. They scatter awareness, spread awareness out. So when we want to focus our awareness or slow the brain down, or find pure focus or improve our balance, bringing the eyes to absolute stillness is one of the tricks that yogis have been using for 1,000 years. Every time the pattern moves, notice and see if you could actually notice the eye movement at the same time, the sensation of the eye reposition. Now we'll replace that complex pattern with a black and white image. And I want you to focus on the dot with one pointed attention. Seconds more. Keep the eye on the dot. Without letting the eye move. In just a moment, you're going to close your eyes, and then you're going to focus your attention on the after image of the dot. And that'll be our closing meditation. 3, 2, 1. Close your eyes. Focus on the after image. Again, try and achieve one pointed attention. your attention back to your breath, reconnecting with the breathing in a way that feels right to you at this moment. Bring a little attention into your posture, see if you can float and expand, open, sitting with more spaciousness of the body and also of the mind. And then when you're ready, opening your eyes. I'd like to thank you for joining me for today's practice, and I hope you can tune in again next week. And I wish you and all you love all the best during these times, and look forward to seeing you in person sometime fairly soon. Namaste.